guests are joined by a brand new DM to discuss how to see the tree through the forest of building your first world and session. God damn, that's a mouth twister. Joining me today, never use the CR the same again. Rules lawyers hate him. It's Behold Max.
Thank you.
And using disengage as an action is so 2019. It's Lucas. And our very own Captain Fluffles, aka Vera, starring as the brand new DM. Welcome to the show, everyone. We lack Lucas at this point because he's getting something to drink, but he should be back any moment.
Yeah, he should.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll be having some mild discussions. How are you? How is everyone doing? It's weird not streaming from OBS myself and having someone else stream it.
I felt like we already did this once.
Yeah, the first time we did, but
Yeah.
after that, it's been 13 or 12 sessions just me streaming. So yeah, Vera,
Yes.
could you tell us, because you were already telling us about the problems you faced, a bit about the problems you faced when trying to build up your first session, or a session just.
It's not even.
What kind of problems are there?
Well, to begin, it's I only think of it. I only think of maybe doing a one shot sometime, someday, somewhere in the future. But I don't know. I'm really a storyteller. So in my head, I plan this story out, and I shouldn't do that because I know D&D it doesn't always.
She's afraid of ruining.
Yeah, I'm afraid of ruining the game and
And you will. First game
Well,
will suck.
All right, we're already in.
Well, let's not immediately.
that's him.
Better support.
Yeah, we're a supportive bunch here. we should be.
But he is right.
Yeah.
Your first game will
You-
suck.
you'll-
I know.
Yeah,
And when you look back at it, it will suck.
Or
I mean,
not
yours was
necessarily.
not that
It
bad.
depends.
Okay, my first game sucked.
No, it did not.
My first game was improv because my one of my players didn't show up, who was essential to the story, so I had to think of a new beginning.
Oh wow.
But I didn't say it really sucked. It was a bit weird. Wouldn't do that again, but
It wasn't terrible at all for first game, especially not.
no.
As I remember it, at least. I thought it was fun. I played in it.
Yeah, it was fun.
I have to
It was
say
also with two
Lucas's
players.
Game.
Yeah.
I have to say with the first game of Lucas. I mean, I was his player.
Yeah.
It wasn't that bad.
It was pretty bad.
It wasn't good. It wasn't that bad.
In my experience, the first DM's game is always the worst. And it only gets better from there.
Sometimes.
Again, not necessarily
Not
agree with
all the
that.
time.
No, neither do I. I think it really depends on what kind of what kind of session you have planned out, and what you focused on when planning out your first games. But
Yep.
you told us just now what you were afraid to screw up
yeah.
DMing. What kind of situations are you afraid to get into? What kind of situation are you afraid you will face and not be able to deal with?
Mostly that a player will do something I didn't, think of, so I wouldn't be prepared for it.
Improv.
Yeah,
Improv.
That's the thing I'm afraid of, but also, I don't know all the rules of D&D, and it's so stupid because I've been playing for quite a while.
A bit over a year.
Yeah, and
I mean,
I know how to play a rogue, but that's it. Even that I do not.
That's debatable.
Well-
I know the basics.
it isn't as bad as getting eaten by
Right.
or whatever that was last
Okay.
night.
I'm not going to pronounce it.
Yeah,
A great Dutch dish.
yeah. So
Yeah, we'll keep it at that.
basically you're afraid to improv, and
Who's a creature?
what what I've experienced while doing improv, especially when trying to first do improv, I'm also just getting this from music, because you also do improv with that when things go wrong, or you just think, well, maybe this will sound good. What the point is with improv is that you need to be experienced, not knowing what you're going to do, and just figuring it out on the spot. Knowing what you, the most important thing is just knowing what you can do, just so you could. If I would do improv correctly, is just get some things that you know that work, and then try to emulate those things, because that's already you know that they work, or that they're cool, and then you can just mold the situation into something that could be cool, because you know it was cool the first time, maybe it works this time, and then it's just trial and error, and getting the feeling right of when you can do something or when you can't do something. I don't know what you guys is perception on improv, or just improvisation, or what your technique is while doing that, or if you do it at all.
I improvise. Well, all the everything that's spoken with NPCs. That's all improvisation. I might have bullet points for a specific conversation that I'd like for them to have. But except for that, everything's improv. For story trajectory, though, I barely run into something where I'm not prepared. That's mostly also because our games are so short that whatever I prepare, sometimes more than the other way around, I have too much prepared. Also, if the players are stuck in a certain place, or you know they're going to go in a certain direction, I can always plan enough for the few hours that we play. This was different at the beginning of our game, though, when the party itself didn't roleplay that much, which relied more on my storytelling. But especially with the group of Unravel, as everybody played for a longer period of time, I can be sure that at least 60% of the game is going to be roleplay done by them, that I just have to wait for them to figure out.
Sometimes
Which isn't a bad thing, but it makes that if I do prepare enough, or even a little bit in the short time that we do play, I never run out of material. You also never seem to go into a direction I didn't expect yet. So
yeah. And how do you find that, Max, with just starting a new game? Which last session could have gone anywhere you wanted, anywhere we could have wanted, basically.
Well, we didn't really have that many places to
didn't.
go. We didn't know. Our characters didn't know the world, so that we were kind of dependent on the NPCs that were going to.
Well, we could have just said, "Oh, we'll just walk that way and see what happened."
The likeliness of that was small enough for him not to have to prep for that, I think.
Yeah. Well, even then, that
Real road.
Probably wouldn't be fun to do that. So I usually assume players navigate towards the things that look fun.
Unless you have dick players, they do exist.
They do, but
yeah,
you shouldn't want to. Well,
there are players
maybe if you don't know, but
there are players that actively try to avoid anything a dungeon master has prepared.
That's true.
Yeah, that's something you'd probably talk about after the game. Yeah. And probably other players wouldn't like.
But that's what my character would do.
Yeah, assuming that doesn't happen, it does obviously happen sometimes. But I plan out a lot, like a good 80% of the game, especially now that I also am dealing with shorter games. That is all mostly planned, and I do plan out more than just those one. Like I had multiple encounters, and depending which way you'd go, you'd get one of these encounters. That's the idea. And I just make sure you get into one of these encounters one way or another. Gold works usually pretty well. But otherwise, you can also make them go to A or B and have A and B go to sort of the same thing. So I do railroad a lot, but I just do it
not in
a way.
the bad sense though. Like you're not railroading in the sense of how are we going to open this door? Well, I'll kick it down, but it's made out of metal and it's too strong. Oh well, I guess I'll move the metal with a spell or whatever. Oh, it's protected by magic. You have to open it up with your hands, and then suddenly there's a trap. That's bad railroading.
I guess the spell magic. No, that doesn't work. There's an anti-magic zone here.
Exactly. That's bad railroading. On the other hand, if you walk into a tavern and in the corner there's sitting someone with a hood suspiciously, that is railroading because what else is the party going to do? That's the most obvious thing for them to do, and they'll most likely do that. But it's not necessarily bad railroading. Also, players that actively avoid such things, such plot hooks, they always run into a situation where the DM is not having fun with what they're doing. The player eventually runs out of ideas to do, and if they had followed up on what the DM put in front of them, the game would have actually been interesting, because whatever the DM prepared is probably more interesting than he can improvise, at least in the long run.
Yeah, for a campaign, I do believe there is, you should probably have more than just the one guy. Like, you should have options for the players. Otherwise, it's a little,
wasn't
a little railroading. But for a one-shot, that is, for a one-shot, I would
totally
definitely
viable.
say have them do the one thing. And even so, like, have it so railroady that, and especially for Vera, like, create the characters yourself. Just ask the players, like, what kind of class do you want to play? And what kind of raise, or maybe not even that.
One-shots in that with characters specifically are kind of a bitch, because if you give the players too much freedom with that, they'll be like, it's a one-shot. I can literally make the dumbest, most annoying character I possibly could, and then they will.
Yes.
And they will.
Yes.
I have so many crazy character ideas that I could use for a one-shot, but...
Exactly.
I mean...
I shouldn't.
We will.
I mean, like a half a year ago, a year ago already, I said I wanted to do it, and 2 people came to me with this really crazy idea, and I was like, well,
maybe not that.
Please don't, but if you really want to, I guess. And yeah, I absolutely do not want people like that in my first game, because they will shit on everything.
It was it was a set of characters that you could see these were made to be
to annoy
very annoying and do one gimmick and probably ruin everybody's fun with it. Not only the DM who had prepared a game that they actually wanted to play, but also the other players who wanted to play this one shot.
What I think might be a good idea, if you're really struggling with, I really want to do a one shot, or I would like to do a one shot, but I don't know what I want to do or what the players want or what everyone wants to do, and they come up with those crazy characters. Just do a session -1 before the session 0. Just ask the players basically what kind of game do you want to play, or what kind of session do you want to play, and what kind of characters do you want to make? Do you want to have? What kind of class? Whatever. I will make them. So make the characters yourself and have them woven into the story of the one shot. So you can just but that guy is part of your family, or is part of this, part of that, and if they're a bit of a role player, they'll hatch on to that, and that's my brother, so it should be this or this way to them, and they'll just go with the story either way because they're already connected to the story, and they'll want to do whatever is happening over there. So that's probably a good idea. And then afterwards, you could do a session 0 with and just explain what kind of characters you have and let people pick, because even then you can have some player agency in what kind of character. Maybe make more characters than there are players, so you can have a few trash characters and that no one wants to play, and no one has to be forced to play with them. because you could just say, well, these are trash characters. You don't have to pick any of those. You could pick any of these that are actually good. Or, well, you could try to do something like that.
Yeah.
So
that could work.
Yeah.
yeah. What I wanted to do, since you were also struggling with, correct me if I'm wrong, you were also struggling with how to even start with, because you had an idea, but
Yeah,
you
a
didn't know
very
where to
vague idea,
begin.
though. Yeah, that's more the point. Like, I have this idea in my head, but first of all, I can't get it on paper. That just doesn't work. And second of all, then I will try it, and then I will be like, that won't work because now I'm telling the story, and then no. And I do not know where the session would go, like all that. So I have no idea where.
Yeah, especially with just a vague idea, it's difficult to make that into a concept which could actually be made a session out of. Because before an idea becomes a concept that you can make something out of, you need to build it up a bit, because then it gains some foundation, and then you can, if you have a foundation, then you can, even with the smallest thing, you can just, well, put characters in there and then think, well, what could happen there. So what I was thinking, since we were in session in episode 11, I think, or episode 12, either one of those, we were talking about making a murder mystery. I thought that would be a fine opportunity to take the idea, just the vague idea of a murder mystery, start from there, and then try to build on that until it becomes something tangible that you could afterwards make a session out of. How would you all find that?
We can certainly try. I've done a murder mystery once. I don't think to particular success. I know for a fact that murder mysteries are one of, if not the most difficult type of D&D game to prepare and to run successfully.
Exactly.
So we can certainly try.
We can just try. Exactly.
The gist of it is you have this story, right? You want to play out, and for you to like pick something out, like gameplay wise, what do you want to focus on to tell this story? Because what it seems like you have a problem is like what sort of game do I attach to the story?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
You can probably attach any. I don't know. I don't know the game, and you probably don't want to spoil it. So.
Yeah, that my first idea was just to help her set up her own game, but then I thought, well, it would be spoiling it, and it would also be weird if I asked, well, tell me your idea on stream live.
No.
Yeah, I wouldn't like that myself. So, starting because it's a difficult topic, and then because a murder mystery is a bit vague, let's just start with what are your first thoughts when thinking about a murder mystery? Just the first thing that comes out.
Well, if I'm being honest, the first thing I thought of was like the NCIS kind of shit. Like the TV show.
NCIS, Law and Order, CSI.
Like that, yeah.
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 Just yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought of Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo works as well.
Yeah,
Dora.
that's before my time.
Yo,
Is it?
Every Dora episode is a slow dungeon crawl.
Oh shit!
Technically,
Should we make a dungeon crawl out of a Dora episode? Well, not
She
now.
does have the troll bridge encounter. I do remember.
Yeah. And she bandits attack. They steal your stuff.
That's true. Actually,
Swiper, no swiping.
Dora's just D&D. There you go.
Dora is just D&D.
Yes. But murder mystery. What I also always think about is just the episode of The Simpsons where they the bridge collapses and they are stuck on a house just on a cliff, and then multiple people get shot or killed in whatever way. So basically, just a large mansion, I think. maybe Resident Evil Mansion. You could also use that or something like that.
Cluedo.
That's a cliche.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, it is.
I guess that makes sense. A mansion with people and it's a party and we're
Or-
playing
or,
Cluedo now.
And someone gets killed.
Or it's like the board game.
Cluedo?
What is it called? No, not Cluedo. You have a board game that
Hungry,
you
Hungry
get an
Hippos.
inheritance.
Oh.
No, you get you have about a lot of characters who get an inheritance from a dead relative, and you have to kill each other and
Monopoly.
take the inheritance.
Monopoly. No, I don't know what you're talking about. But I
No,
know that
that-
people,
it's-
some people die if you play Monopoly with them. So,
I don't know
it
what it's called.
depends.
Levenswerk in het Nederlands. What is it called?
life's way. That
No,
doesn't
no,
make
no.
sense.
I don't really
Ga-
think.
It's a game of life, I think, in English.
The game of life. There you go.
I'll check.
You steal inheritance there, right?
I mean, no, not really.
I feel like you do. I haven't played that in a long time.
Well,
here, so.
you steal each other's salaries. That's something, I guess.
Pretty epic.
That is pretty. It's pretty epic. Yeah.
But that
But-
has nothing to do with a murder mystery.
No, I have written it down though, so we can use that.
Yeah, it's a game of life what you were talking about in the English version.
What I'm also thinking of is you have a serial killer from the U.S. which I think he was a doctor or had a pharmacy and had basically a killer house
Yeah.
with just stairs going nowhere and just
He
trap
built
doors.
he sold that one and then he went
Yeah.
to a hotel and yeah, I know that one.
I think I've
No
heard
idea
that,
what's
yeah.
his name.
Nope.
there was just downtown whatever. I think it was New York even.
Yeah, it was New York.
Yeah.
It was a very weird house.
Yeah, it was a real weird house.
Just lead to nowhere.
And they couldn't break a thing. I thought, like
No,
when they went to investigate.
he had. I think he had something encased in the wall because they tried to take it, take the safe or something.
Yeah, something
from
like
him.
that.
And they couldn't break the wall because that was against something or other.
A rule.
And then he basically said to the ones getting the safe, yeah, just try and get it. If you don't break the wall, just you can have it. But they couldn't, so they just left.
Yeah.
You can make such a house real easily in D&D.
Oh,
I think
More like
you-
a horror game.
That sounds more like a horror game.
That would be awesome.
I mean,
Horror games are cool too.
a good murder mystery is also kind of a horror game, right?
Could be. It depends.
Good. Yes.
You could entangle it with a horror game. You could make it a murder horror mystery game, something like that. Murder horror game.
Murder hobo. That's what it turned into.
Yeah, just have murder hobos get inside, and then they get murder hoboed by the bigger murder hobo.
The party's
murder
not
hobo.
supposed to be the killer as well.
No.
Or would they?
That would kind of defeat the
Or
purpose
are they?
of the mystery.
There's no mystery here. We are.
It would turn into how do we cover up our own murders?
That could also be a section.
How to get away with murder?
Oh, that would also be cool. That
do
that could actually work.
That would be the beginning of an evil campaign. Evil campaigns always end with like, I am a lich now. But before that, it's like, so I killed this farmer.
Ah, shucks. The police is coming.
So yeah, we found his body. We killed this person. We put him in the closet, and now there's guards around. What do we do?
Wait, that
Burn
reminds
the
me of a
closet.
game.
It does.
That reminds me a lot of your game.
Wait, what?
We weren't evil.
Yeah. Well, some of you.
I mean, yeah, okay. So we've got a couple of things we could take with us when trying a murder mystery scenario. So how would you what kind of location would we pick? Would we pick the cliche just house on the top of a hill? Because what kind of
Thinking of that.
Hmm?
I was thinking of that. Though.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
probably everyone was.
Yeah. We could just do the cliche. That works. Cliches are there for a reason.
yeah, sure.
I mean, tavern opening also works if you do it right.
Sometimes, not every time.
Fuck you looking at me.
Well,
for?
what do you guys think? Just house on top of the hill?
Yeah, large mansion. The party was invited to come and celebrate someone's birthday, but then the birthday got murdered by someone. Who did it?
Blah.
You're not sure, but Party's the only one that hadn't seen that never left. So they're sure that they didn't do it. I think.
I mean, there's
Alright,
one
false
thing
part
if
real
it's gonna be a
quick.
one shot that could be very useful to do is make sure there's a location where they can't just leave.
Yeah, exactly. That's
You
also
can do
what
it
I
on a
was
boat,
thinking. On a
like a
private
large galleon.
yacht party.
A
Private
walking
galleon party
walking
then.
house in the swamps.
So it could
Oh,
be
you
a-
could
It could be a floating island.
floating island would also work. Yeah.
Well, they could
It's on
jump.
the plane.
It's on
Snakes on the plane.
Oh shit. 20 on the plane. But yeah, we could do sort of a yacht or galleon then a galleon party from a rich noble, which the party knows maybe.
Sure.
I mean, then they
I
can't
mean,
run.
yeah.
I mean, I guess they could swim away.
They can-
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but if it's a floating island, then they can jump off the island. I mean, they would
Yeah, they
probably
wouldn't.
die.
Nobody would do that.
But it
That's-
would
Depending on
work.
where the floating island is.
Yeah.
It's like a
An
bit
island
of a
could
big-
also work.
If it's above a big ball pit, then
Yeah. Maybe you could also do an island, a bit of a Lost style, that they're stranded on the island, and then
Well, no,
you
but
have,
someone got murdered somewhere. That's
Yeah.
what we're gonna.
and
Yeah.
then they have a weird creature, and then
Just take the house on
Dragon
the hill
turtle.
with a creepy cat and a fence around it. That one.
you can have a creepy cat anywhere you want.
You guys have a creepy cat in the party.
Yeah.
Hey!
I think it took you a second to even realize that. You're like, huh?
That went slow.
You can see that being like, huh? I'm so confused. To like, motherfucker.
Do we have a cat? Wait a second.
Well, no, I was thinking of Max's campaign where you all are in, and I was
yeah.
like,
Oh.
wait, you have a cat in your campaign?
No,
and I
yeah,
was
my-
like, wait, they're talking about me.
No, we have a racist wood elf against high elves, and we have weird people. One satyr who is has been stuck for quite a long time. So we've got the house on the top of the hill, the cliche thing, the boat, the island.
Sure, it's a flying island with a pond of water with a boat on it, and then boat sits a house on the top of a hill. There you go. We got our
No,
established
the
location.
floating island has a pond on it, from which there's a floating island with a hill. On top of that, there's a house. The house is a big ass pool. In that pool, there's a ship. Inside the ship is where the party was.
So this is how you.
So
not,
it's technically a pool party.
this is how you not do it.
Jeez, that breaks my mind multiple ways around.
It's a house. There you go.
It's a house.
Let's just do an
Let's
island
go.
with a house on it, right?
Sure.
Island with a house on it. Okay,
But who would live there?
exactly. That was the next question.
Everybody's construct, and it's a dollhouse. Sorry.
It's the simulation.
Who would live there? Probably an air genasi, or not air genasi,
Probably not
like
air
a
genasi.
genie. Could be a genie on the elemental plane of air, or it could indeed be a genasi. Could be an arcoa.
Murph.
The flies. Yeah, that's an air genasi.
I know.
If it's a genasi, it would more likely be a water or earth genasi, I think.
If it's on a
Okay.
floating island.
Yeah. Because those are more likely to leave civilization. Air and fire
I wouldn't
are
know.
just like they're more like yeah, look at this.
D&D nerd.
We ballin'. Well, that's what they think.
Yeah,
So-
that's what we are. Good observation. In case you haven't
Yeah.
noticed, that's what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. So, Genasi could work. We could also just maybe we could do an archmage as well, or mage.
It's
It
not
could
an
be a mage
actual
tower.
game. There is a dude that has a house.
Yeah.
The dude.
Is there someone in the chat that's talking?
The dude dies.
Someone died. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a Birdman. He had his flying house, and he got killed.
Wait, so the
during
house
his
flies now.
No,
first
the
day
island
party.
flies with the house on it.
It's not like we're not in this. We're not in up, right? With the balloon.
No, no, it's like
Well,
there's a floating
we're
island.
talking too much about the setting,
The
not actually how
house.
to run the game. I think.
we're
So
avoiding-
there is a place, and a dude died there. Now
Yeah.
the party knows for sure
Yeah.
that they're not the ones that did it, so they're gonna have to be the ones to figure out who did.
But are they sure they didn't do it though?
Yes, they are, because you as the DM can say none of you killed that person, and then that's how it is.
and you know that. Or you
We've all
could have
been
a
in the
character
same
with
room when it happens. There you go.
just everyone has amnesia. No one knows who
So
did
that
it.
means someone did it.
Someone did it.
Not
Then
the party.
you probably have to figure out who did it, and then find the way how the party's going to reach said person.
Well, I think first of all, I think it's more important why the party is there for a reason, and
Well, that doesn't
someone
matter.
the killer's there for a reason as well. Who's there?
The party is there
Who's just-
because for a birthday, and the killer was there because the man had a lot of money.
Well, there must be
maybe
more
it was there
reasons
for-
than just a lot of money.
Well,
maybe
money
wronged him in-
is a very good
Mon-
motive.
Money is a motive, but to find out who did it, you need more motive than just money. Because
There's
if
enough
you have
people in
just
the
money,
world
anyone
getting
could have
murdered for
killed
money.
him.
Inherent,
I mean,
Whoa.
Inheritance could work.
which is
That could work, but same problem. You could have more people that are a family of him.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's the
because
point, right?
that's
To
the
figure out who
point.
it was from those.
No. You would need multiple clues to get a right answer, because you want the
Yeah.
party to definitely 100% know that's the guy that he killed him. So inheritance could be a good thing.
It's like it's like an elimination list. So there's the
Yeah.
inheritance that could be pointing
That could be one of the few things that killed him. Maybe someone saw a glimpse of the killer. Well, when he heard a fire go off or something like that, and he just caught the backside of him. Just saw some hair. You could have a bit of long hair. Maybe the killer and everyone who's there has. Some people have long hair. You can just cross some people off who don't have long hair. Maybe the witness was lying. You could threaten him to tell you. That would be weird, but yeah, you could do that.
Yeah,
So,
it's preparing
looks-
the clues is probably the most important part when it comes to a murder mystery. So you make sure there's you must make sure that there's clues to eliminate every other person except that one killer.
Yeah.
And some are harder to get than others. You
And-
probably have the easy one, which is there's an inheritance, so that would eliminate anyone who is not family of this person.
Yeah.
Right?
Maybe-
But then
maybe-
there's harder ones like the clues where the back of the hair, but
Yeah.
oh no, everyone has long hair in this party except few, right? That's
Yeah.
first.
So
Maybe it was
I think who's there, because you got a couple of people who were there, and then you can make red herrings out of some of them, because if you have a lot of clues pointing towards two people, but you don't know which one it is, and then you have one clue that could be either one and then one who certainly didn't do it. You can have some people thinking that it's another guy, and then you can red hair.
I thought you wanted to
herring
have
the party.
one obvious one where the party there's no doubt that the party knows that's that person.
Yeah,
So
if
do
they
you
got,
want to have one or two?
I think if you have all the clues, then it's one. But if you have some of the clues, then it could be that guy. But I mean, that guy looks more likely. He's more suspicious. And then you could have just a wrong answer. That could work. And then the killer gets away and maybe kills more people.
I mean, what does the party do when they find him?
Loot him,
Just-
probably.
Just kill him? just outright
Just
Oh,
execute
Judge-
him right there?
depends on the
judge,
party.
jury, and
Most likely,
execute
yes.
him.
Well, yeah, that depends on the party.
But I feel like we're skipping ahead a little bit because we're just talking about clues and we don't know who is there.
What do you mean?
we have a party. Let's say Milou or Vera runs it, and then the three of us are the party, right? So we have 3 people that are in the party, and then we need more people to just fill the spots. And one who's dead, and one who's the killer. So we have the our Kokra, who's the dead noble. I'll just pick that then.
We should make it too detailed. You should just be like, there is people, because you kind of need it to be a blank slate for someone to really be able to fill that in for themselves. So you have a murdered person, the one who did it, the party plus guests, and it's one of it's of course it's the murderer, but then you have to eliminate the guests. How do you get from finding the dead body to finding the murderer? It doesn't matter who the party or the other people are.
Well,
For elimination, it would definitely be important to know like who's the family of this guy, who's the
yeah.
what are they
So-
all looking like, because that's where you probably would get some of the clues from. Also, like, what have they maybe seen? Are there certain people who have certain clues, or are there people
Yeah,
who are
if-
already like making assumptions where you're like, he's just making assumptions, but maybe some of the players do take these assumptions as clues, that sort
Yeah.
of stuff. But it
You
wouldn't
could
be
have one-
too important, like who exactly they are. It's just mostly
mean-
what's their importance right now to this clue.
Yeah, but I feel to figure out what the clues should be, you could have just if we know what kind of people are there. If you leave it a blank slate, someone died, and the party has to figure it out. Then good luck finding clues.
Well, I'm just saying, right now we shouldn't focus too much on making specific NPCs because it will
Yeah.
take too long and be too confusing for anybody that would like to take this information and adjust it to the
Yeah,
way
yeah.
they can use it in their own game.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, someone
It's just to
died.
keep in mind.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Where would you like to continue then, Lucas? Because we've got the party, we've got the killer, we've got a couple of people, whatever.
Well, that's the thing. When I made my murder mystery, I don't think I did it in the right way. So I have no idea where you would go from this point, from being stuck at who did it and how they get there. The way I did it was on the murder scene. There's a couple of clues, and they follow either one of them, and they all eventually lead to the same point, which to me felt very, very railroady. It was very much for me just waiting for them to hit the points that I had set. There was no player agency. Like, the way I did it was definitely not the way to go.
Okay.
So I also wouldn't know how you would even start that. That's why I think the murder mystery is the most difficult thing to write.
Yeah, I think if you have a table of things they can find, so the inheritance, maybe someone saw him, and have a couple of things, and you know where to find them. So maybe the inheritance can be found in an office upstairs.
Layout is
You
also
can
important.
yeah. Well, it depends.
Well, rooms can be important because each room can have a clue, and
Yeah.
then it comes to the point where at some point you're like, oh, we know that there's like some splatters in a certain room. We know where it happened. Like, maybe we can find clues asking every single NPC, have you seen someone enter or exit that room, right? That
Yeah.
could be another clue. So layout
So-
is great for another clue, for more, and I think that's for a lot of things. Like, layout can be very important when you are in an important location during the game, where you want to
So-
clearly do a quest.
So let's
like
just
murder mystery.
let's just keep it simple. Maybe just have a main hall. That's where the players start. maybe
It doesn't
maybe
matter. We don't have to work it completely out, but it's like
no.
it is important to keep in mind that that is something you want to work out and plan beforehand, not improvise, probably.
No, that's not that you certainly don't want to improvise. Not any of this. So yeah, location is really important, but and also the different kind of rooms are quite important when talking about maybe there's just stairs that block some kind of vision, and maybe someone saw the killer come from upstairs downstairs, or the other way around. He some run upstairs after killing the guy in the other room, and maybe saw a glimpse of him when he was in the doorway on the upper floor. Then probably that's probably not a great clue because he did see the killer, but maybe the lighting is wrong, or maybe he didn't really see, because you also have to keep in mind that the lighting could how the room looks at the point. So you could, I think, to get a good idea of how the players would figure out some things is have a detailed description of how the lighting looks and how the room layout looks. Maybe not details in the room, because that isn't really important. Depends, of course, but so yeah. So if you don't wanna figure it out right now, then it becomes difficult to start making a murder mystery if you don't want to figure things out. Let's say the players have just gotten all the clues from the NPCs. They've searched all the rooms. Eventually, they find the player. How would you then? What would
The
be
player?
the murderer? The murderer, yeah. What would you do when they catch the murderer then?
I mean, I wouldn't know because it's the party who is going to react on finding the murderer, and then that is where the murderer reacts on the party. So I have no idea how.
Depending who it is, it might lead to a combat encounter.
Maybe it's like a peaceful.
Depending on what your party is, they might
Yeah.
murder him. They might take him captive. Yeah.
There's
Maybe
parts where you
they'll
have
agree with
control.
him. I have no idea.
Well, since we're on an island, let's say it takes a while until any of guard force would arrive. It would be pretty difficult.
I mean, yeah, but still, if your party is like, I'm going to kill this person because I'm bright and holy,
Then they're
and
going to.
then
That's
they're going
sort
to
of
kill the person. But maybe the party's like, from, well, we're not going to kill the person. That's so easy. So we're gonna take him in, held him captive. Maybe.
Well, that brings us back to what we say often, which is it depends on your party, what they do with him. Giving them the different options of possibly catching him or killing him should be up to the party. It shouldn't be predetermined.
Well, you could when thinking about that, you could when thinking about such things, about such scenarios that could happen, you can plan out multiple things. So when the players meet the villain, or the one who did all this, you could have a combat encounter plan that when they do fight him, they can, well, they have the combat encounter that you have prepared. Or when they do decide to lock him up, well, since it's a session 0, or since it's just a one session, then you could just say, well, you make a layout of the house which has a dungeon in the cellar, so you can just put him there. And you can just plan for multiple things that could happen, but yeah, there's also probably something that you won't take in mind. So probably like a player trying to charm him to be a friend, and then goes off with him on a honeymoon or whatever.
Yeah, that'd be pretty bad.
Murder Mystery is also a bitch if you have a cleric. If they cast Stone of Truth, that makes things a lot more easy.
That makes it easier, yeah.
Other charming spells would be like, "Did you do it?" And they're like, "Yeah." It also makes it more difficult.
Well, that comes sort of in with the starting of, let's say it's a one shot. At that point, you would just say, well, this is your party composition. This is what you know, and this.
You
is where
don't
you
have
go.
Zone of Truth.
And there you go. Then that's fixed. If you do it in a campaign, that's a different story. Then you'd probably just put.
They should just probably have to deal with the fact that it can do that.
It's like immune for charm, that sort of stuff, right? And then it's like, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but the most difficult part of a murder mystery is necessarily what are the clues for them to find, and it will most likely look like a Telltale game where it's like you can find the murder weapon, you can find DNA, and you can find footprints. Doesn't matter which one you follow. Eventually, they all lead through different ways to the same end. That's where it's most likely going to look like. And then the party.
It doesn't have to lead to the same thing. I mean, you can have some.
Well, if they follow the clues correctly, they should get to the murder and not to the wrong person. You can have clues dropped anywhere that lead eventually to nothing.
Well, I think you should just have an when you have a murder mystery, you could have just a house, and then place clues there, and then have the players figure it out. You could
figure
try
it out
that.
though. How from placing the clues to getting to the murder? How do you, like, as I said, the way I did that last time was these clues lead individually to someone that can give information, to another place they can find more clues, to the murderer. That's how I did it, but in my opinion, that felt a little bit too railroady.
Yeah.
How would you get from the house with clues to them finding the murderer? That's the difficult part of the murder mystery.
Yeah, but if you have let's say you hear a sound, you go into the room. There's a guy that's dead. People are standing around him. You probably, as a party, you would probably I would place maybe 2 people in the room that the dead person is, and have them be shocked or whatever and just not responsive, or maybe one of them is responsive and tells them some things about what just happened. That leads them that leads them maybe to the party downstairs where they could ask if anyone has heard such things that were happening. You could also inspect the room. Maybe you find a blood trail going somewhere. So you could have multiple clues that point to different directions in the house, which point to more directions in the house, which branch out. If you have a branching path, that eventually it would lead to one person. But if you have enough clues, then you don't need to find all of the clues. Because if you have enough clues to make some kind of conclusive evidence against the killer, then you could just have, well, I'm 90% sure that guy did it, so it's probably him.
Well, yeah, that's what I meant with you find on the place you're playing multiple clues that lead to something, that lead to something, that lead to something, that might either lead to nothing or eventually the murder.
Well, here's another thing that's very important. Some people don't like murder mystery. Some players absolutely hate it.
As I said, I didn't like how railroady it felt from a DM's perspective, so I'm not sure how much I would like it as a player.
I feel like it would make the clues too vague, personally, and I would leave my party hanging somewhere, not knowing what to do, and that would be the worst. That's the worst feeling you can have. That really is. Like when you have your party somewhere where they don't know what to do, and you're like, you shouldn't be there, so I don't really know what to do, and you're just.
Well, what you could do is, if the players are stuck like that, you could use the system that Call of Cthulhu uses, which is just basically you either, I'm not exactly sure how it was. I think the highest luck person or the highest intelligence can just roll an intelligence check, and then as a DM you can give a tip or a clue. You can just say, well, how about this and this? You think back about the room, and then you haven't explored that place.
Your character's smart.
That could
Your
that
character
could
is
work.
smart.
To me personally, that feels a little cheap.
Oh,
But yeah,
I
if
mean-
your players are stuck, giving them a hint of some kind
it's
could work. But if your players are so stuck in the point that they're like, we don't know, we give up, then you shouldn't be like, and now suddenly you find this.
No. You
that's
should
gonna feel
you
real
should do
wordy,
it
like,
way
do my
before
thing.
they say we give up, because they probably have played for 2-3 hours and then gotten nowhere. You can just when they either when they find some clues and get in onto a dead end, then they're just like, shucks, what did we miss? And when they say what did we miss, you can then, well, maybe you should check out that.
Well, yeah, but that's the point with that. As I said, like that's me personally. That's a little cheap, and that's like. It's like when the players don't find it. First of all, when finding clues, just having it be an investigation check, which was what I did, I didn't find interesting enough. I thought it was kind of boring. And then, if the players got stuck and didn't know what to do, I was afraid of that happening. So I made all the clues super obvious, which eventually led them down a way of like, of course they're doing this because it doesn't make sense to do anything else, and which eventually led to it feeling railroady.
What you
Because
could
they
do
couldn't do
instead.
anything else, otherwise they would have gotten stuck.
What you could do instead is maybe not have an ability check or a check that either fails or doesn't fail, or either they get it or don't get it. If you have a check from what are you looking for in the room, then ask the players maybe, well, what are you looking for? What are you exactly looking for? What are you doing when you're saying I'm investigating the room? Are you investigating the blood splatter? Then you can give them something about a blood splatter. Maybe they misinterpreted the clue. You can just have clues somewhere and then they can misinterpret them, or they can see them, but when they have a low roll, they could just overlook them for a while and then finally they notice it. Because I don't think checks. Personally, I like checks when they're either take a long time or take a little time, because I don't think a check should necessarily fail, especially if it's a perception check or an investigation check into the room. Maybe they stumble over something and then miss something that it could be done. You could do that, but that has the problem of the checks failing and then succeeding. Yeah, I think personally I would maybe do it like you notice the clue but you don't realize everything about it right away. So maybe you'll think about it later and then, oh yeah, wait, I didn't realize it. I realized that, and then check it again, but don't have to roll again, and then check the clue again. So you can come back later and check it out again. That's the point of gathering clues, I think.
I almost feel like when you want to do a murder mystery, it's very important to give a good visual guide with almost a sort of puzzle.
You should literally bust that Cluedo.
Almost like something
You
like
could.
that where you. I mean, you don't have to bust that Cluedo. That's actually.
I mean,
good.
it would
It's like,
be.
we're playing D&D,
pretty
but
good.
now, Cluedo.
But what I mean more is like the clue should almost be like more of you put a puzzle or sort of like something they have to figure out themselves.
Yeah, that's the
You
thing.
could
Like
do
Not
them
really an
having to
investigation
figure it out themselves. What I did with my murder mystery, for example, it's like you guys found flowers, which eventually led you to go to the flower store, which is like that makes sense, of course. That is something you technically figured out yourself, but it was very easy. So how would you make something that's
Easy.
not too obvious, but still something that they won't get stuck on?
I Google.
Well, depends when you want your flower door to lead. Because if you want them to lead it to the garden or something like that, you could have dirt in the room, which is otherwise just completely clean. You could have some dirt in the room, and then maybe they can think, oh wait, maybe the killer has dirty shoes. Let's go to the garden. Is there a garden? I don't know. Maybe he went to the front porch. don't have a. I don't think you should work with the symbolism of there's a flower and there's a flower door, because then you can put one and one together. And if
I
they
said store,
see
not
dirt,
door.
well, yeah. but if they see dirt and then they think, wait, dirt, garden, maybe the gardener, and they can speak with the gardener, and then maybe he has some clues.
Well,
Then
yeah.
they figure out more steps themselves.
That eventually leads to the same problem that I had with it, where it's like they're figuring out these steps that are obvious. They're not necessarily figuring anything out themselves. They're finding the path you had planned for them all along.
Well,
I think
like it.
the best way if a murder mystery would succeed is if you just give them the few clues without having anything point anywhere necessarily, but they connect the clues themselves. But I don't know how you would do that. That would be the difficult part.
Well, that's just. I think that's basically just putting a whole bunch of clues down. Which point, if you gather them all, which point to one direction, and then just throwing the players in there and checking. I don't think you can make something. I think it depends on the player, but you can't make something obvious or not obvious for people. Everyone has different experiences, and it's also in normal games. You can't just assume that someone would react to something like you think they would react, because maybe they have a completely other association with something, and then just, oh, maybe that's this or that.
Yeah, you shouldn't expect a certain reaction, or what may seem very logical to you. Sometimes really goes over the heads of your players.
I don't think making it obvious is bad, even in normal sessions. That's what we're saying when planning out normal sessions, is like just having an obvious thing to point out, like, hey guys, look at that. That's pretty interesting. Most of our players will just look at that and be like, we'll go there, because the other thing isn't interesting. It's the same as describing a room and describing something in detail, which you want them to go to. Then they'll probably go there because you described it in detail, and if it's interesting, it looks interesting. So there's probably something interesting that's down there. Or they're giving us money for this. It should be good. Should be a good time, or easy, or whatever. It should be interesting at least. The strange guys with mohawks are giving us money to fight demons, but let's go.
Can't argue with that.
Yeah. So, when
Obvious
planning,
isn't bad.
obvious isn't bad. Like cliches. Since we're running a bit short on time, what kind of tricks? I had some. How do we keep everything together as dungeon masters? Because I feel like that's also when writing scenarios or thinking of things. What are your tips to Vera on how she could get everything in one place and then working with that? How do you keep everything on track and keep track of everything?
I don't think anybody would want to see how I keep track of all my stuff.
That's ridiculous.
But how do you mean exactly for her to keep track of stuff? Of
Well,
of
because
the players, of the
because
story
she said,
itself,
I'm not sure why you can't put it on paper. So if you could explain that.
No, just because it's really a vague idea, and it's just I've not thought about it for quite some time, so it's not like if I write it on
it's
paper.
too much for a one shot.
Yeah.
But you want to run it as a one shot.
No, not exactly, but I want something small for the first try, and my ideas always go very, very big, and I want to narrow it down, but that's too much for my head. Like,
Well,
I can.
I think for this specific thing, you shouldn't try to compress that's what's in your head,
Yeah.
because it wouldn't work.
No.
For your first game, for your one shot, make something completely different, and then if you like that, you can start developing the thing that you want to do.
Yeah.
yeah, I'd say first of all, get comfortable with the mechanics of the game. I guess is
Yeah.
like when you plan
Yeah, just
out.
try something.
Yeah, when I plan out, for instance, combat encounters. So for you, it's probably good to start seeing, do I want combat even in the game? Probably also contact up with the players who are going to play in it.
Mhm.
And if you want combat, just take a good look at it. Like, you can also just ask Lucas to maybe look at it from a mechanical standpoint. Just don't say what sort of the enemies are, but
So if you want to have a balanced combat encounter, you should go to Max. If you want to hurt your players, you should come to me.
Well, then I will continue.
Well,
I'm pretty good at keeping it sort of balanced, but still hurt the players a lot.
Yeah, you're
physically
good at that.
really exhaust them. If you want one of those encounters.
That's a hard combat. Those are hard combat encounters. I can't say how I do combat encounters. It's mostly I improvise. I improvise a whole lot. I can't say how well I do combat encounters. I think about enemies that should be there, and just have them prepared, and just think about them on the spot.
Yeah, for me,
Just
combat preparation is super important because combat can be very stale. Especially, I hate a lot of normal just enemies. Just their stat block. I don't like them. They're just boring. They're like attack, and that's it.
Whack.
So I sort of see a lot of I look at combat stats. I'm like, yeah, you probably could add something to that to make that more interesting. Or I homebrew almost everything. That's probably why I said game rule lawyers hate me.
I mean,
'cause-
homebrew is okay. I mean, I'm now speaking from a player perspective. Homebrew is okay, but don't overdo it. I mean,
why not?
It doesn't
I
matter.
have played in games where it was homebrewed and bad, really bad homebrewed. Just
Well, yeah, you can have bad
Over
homebrew.
the
You can also have
top.
bad official game.
I mean,
look
yeah,
at
but he went over
Look-
the top with the homebrewing. Like,
Sounds like just not knowing the rules very well.
yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna judge.
Well,
but
Because someone who doesn't know the rules, yeah, he's gonna homebrew things that don't make sense. As long as you sort of keep within the borders of the game rules. Like, the only thing that usually people can do with me is like, I know that enemy. I'm gonna Google it, and then I say they have this and this, and they're like, what?
Yeah, that's true.
That's why I like playing
Yeah,
at
I
the
found-
table more than I do at the computer.
I've also found with Lucas's games recently that it's just like, oh yeah, it's this enemy. I look it up. He doesn't do that. I've had 2 combat encounters now.
Yeah,
which,
you looked
which
at
are,
you looked at the Froggy Moth and the Fomorians.
Yeah, and I was like, they don't do that. So props to you for homebrewing.
Not really.
That's what I
I
like
gave
about
the
him.
Froggy Moth more hit points and legendary actions, which it was like he can move, he can attack, and then the flailing arms ability was the most random thing. The pain, the Fomorian, the Painbringer Fomorian, is basically a I think 3.5 version that somebody else made, which instead of a club, it has a flail and it's able to do one more weird thing with its eye.
You also had the golem, I think, which was a rock golem with poison things or acid things.
The
which
stone golem
I couldn't find.
The stone golem had acid immunity and did a bit extra damage of acid. That's it.
I mean,
so it's
yeah,
not even
but
that
still-
homebrew.
Yeah, but
But
it's
still, it's still
adding those little
enough.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it's still enough
Yeah.
to throw off
You.
players who know what kind of monsters there are, because it's something different, and maybe you've got some wild things that they're throwing in there, like maybe a random legendary action that's just wildly shocking.
If you're DMing for someone and they're on their phones, they're not texting or doing something else. They're looking at the stat box of your monster.
I know. Because
Yes.
I do it too, and you punch me for it.
Yeah.
Well, you
Because
do
you're sitting
that
right next to
too?
me. You're sitting right next to me. I can do that.
And he punched me for it a lot of times.
Don't look up
I mean-
the monsters. It's not fun. I don't look up
But
the monsters. either.
sometimes I have to know shit.
Like, I was super confused yesterday when we were playing the game with Max, because you had a creature homebrewed first of all, I had no idea what it was when it showed up. I had no idea at all. When it regurgitated, it was a large demon that regurgitates stuff. I was like, I kind of know that there is a demon that does that. But this one flew and that one didn't, so it didn't make any sense. So I was like, it's probably homebrewed. And that's where I gave up on it, because I kind of knew what he was going for. And then eventually it's like, I just added wings. I was like, great, that's...
I just added
like,
yeah, you can take a lot of liberty. You can take a lot of liberty in just changing things. It doesn't really matter.
I don't look up stat blocks. I don't think it's fun.
I think personally I think it's I look it up, but then and then don't do anything with that information. So if my character wouldn't know, I don't do it. But I just like looking up and seeing what it is, because I like knowing what it is.
I mean,
I'm just curious.
the reason why I do it is sometimes I have a plan in my head, but I don't want to ruin my
That's
valuable
metagaming.
things.
That's metagaming. If it's like, it has fire vulnerability, suddenly I'll whip out my
be
flame
honest.
tongue longsword.
But it doesn't work.
Well, it doesn't work because you do that in game well enough.
I've done it,
Because
I
you
think,
punched
once
me, and I
in
have to
Unravel.
make fun of me.
I think I've done it once, and it was, I think, I looked up the green dragon, or I looked up the wyvern basically, and I saw that it had more than 4 intelligence. I was like, hey, I can Tasha's this. That's cool. I mean, my character would have probably tried it as well, but
But that's metagaming though. That's why I don't like doing it, because it's even if you don't mean to metagame, once that knowledge is in your head, you're not going to be able to shake it easily. That's actually why I like the fact that Max homebrews a lot of stuff, because when he showed up with the very first session of that game, for example, I thought we were fighting spine devils, and I was like, I kind of know what these are. I have a gauge of how many hit points they have, kind of what their armor class is. Like I thought I knew a lot of them when it started, and then I was pleasantly surprised when none of my shit was correct. Because then I'm fighting something that is from the perspective of my character, rather than being like, this shows up. Well, I know that it has these scores and it has these saving throw proficiencies. When I'm building my character, it's a different thing. But when I'm actually playing, I don't think you, if you know the monster, you're automatically metagaming. It depends. Well, no, but that's an advantage to your character. I think if
but
no player
I don't use that.
no player would ever know what your DM is going to bring to the table, the fact of looking up what a monster could possibly do in game, it would be more interesting.
But you can just do nothing with that information.
Well, no, but for a good example was at one point Thyrus went to go look up what kind of creatures that would live in the swamp that could possibly be a reference to the quest he had, and at one point did stumble upon the Froghemoth. He could have done 2 things, which I think he did neither of. He could have been like, okay, and then did nothing, and once the game was over, look up what its vulnerabilities and strengths and whatnot are online. You could easily do that. But it would be more fun if you went like, okay, these Froghemoths, I will look up in let's see, what can I find in game to get this edge on this creature, and then it would have been more rewarding if you did it in such a manner. I think he didn't even look it up either, but finding it out in game, I think, is more rewarding in the end if you know what you're going up against.
I don't. Well,
I mean, yeah.
Because I don't really agree with that, because I do agree that it is more interesting than if you're looking it up in the game, and then you can use the information you gather from that. But I still think you can just look up the information and be like, oh, that's cool, and then just close the tab and then do not think about it.
Yeah, no, I don't believe that works. I don't like that.
I do that all the time.
I know that a lot of people do that. I'm just opposed to it.
But
that's why I hate you whenever you try to do it.
But still, you have to realize, most of them I have no idea what we're fighting against. So he's describing it, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? And that's why I sometimes try to do it. It always fails, though.
Since you've been sitting next to me, yeah.
Yeah. So but I have no idea what we're fighting against, and it makes it more interesting because I don't know how much hit points it does. I mostly don't. Most of the times, I do not realize when my attacks don't work or something.
I tell you after you've done it.
I mean, yeah, but then I've already wasted my poison or an attack, and it's like, god damn it.
Yeah, no,
And that way, I learn about the creature. So it's not like that I already know in my head, when I hit it with my sword, it doesn't it doesn't work because it's not magical.
Another thing is, for example, I actively tried to avoid saying what creature you're fighting against at any moment. And I started doing that after the Aboleth fight.
Yeah.
Because as far as the players know, they have no fucking clue what they fought against. But the characters have been mentioning the Aboleth, which would mean that now knowing what it's called, they can go and look it up or ask someone else. For if none of the players knew what you were fighting, like if none of you had ever looked through the monster manual or looked anything up, and you would have been at the table and I would have just been like, you're fighting this thing now. You eventually would have either given it a name yourself or would have tried harder to find out what it was if you would have cared at all. But now it's like, you fought the Aboleth and you guys came, it was like, yeah, the Aboleth fight was difficult. Your character never knew. I was calling it the Aboleth, which I shouldn't have. That's why I stopped saying it as well.
Yeah, the problem is...
That's what I mean, like, the moment you know it, like, the moment you know it, you're not going to be able to unknow it.
I
Or
beg
forget.
to differ. I know a lot of creatures, but if you just put me in front of them, I'm just like, what is this? Even with dragons, I've looked it up a lot of times, but I don't know what they do. They have some kind of frightened thing, but further than and the blast attack, but further than that, I don't know.
There you go. That's
Yeah,
the
but-
entire skit of the dragon.
But all the details with I've looked at how their lairs look and how the surrounding area should look.
Yeah.
Don't remember
It's already
any
a
of that.
giveaway in a sense.
But
I
if you
don't remember any of that.
Yeah, but if you know that, you shouldn't during a game go look the creature's stat block up. You'd be like, okay, that's what I know, and you can figure from there what would be possibly plausible for a character to know. If you look at the stat block, that kind of defeats the purpose of not knowing where you're going up against.
No, but if I know what if I see a creature and I look it up, I'm not automatically going to use that information to use the creature's weaknesses or strengths against them. I'm still just, okay, but now I know. But this is what my character should do, and I'm not going to metagame a certain spell which works better, because that doesn't really. Well, that doesn't.
Then
really
you're a rare
make
player
sense.
in the thousands that wouldn't do that.
I would.
Yeah,
I wouldn't.
I would totally. The moment you saw that
I-
the frog hemoth had shock susceptibility, I would, if I were you, I'd be like, okay, do I have lightning bolt? Do I have shocking grasp? Do I have anything that could possibly do lightning damage? Because it's stupid if you're like, I'm not going to. Okay, so I'm going to continue casting this spell that doesn't work as well, even though I now know. Like, I hate knowing that I could do more and not doing it.
I mean, what you did with my dagger, at one point, I do not remember what I was fighting.
You were
because
fighting the invisible stalker, and I
Yeah.
told you your swords are not doing that much.
Yeah,
You grab your dagger.
and I said no.
You said no. Well, yeah, no. I asked
But-
you that after you made your first attack.
Yeah,
You said,
no,
"Do you
no,
use your dagger?" You said,
no,
you were
no,
like,
you did it. I used my sword, and you said you used your dagger, right? And I was like, no, I used my sword. But you were pointing at from. Your swords do not do the damage you want to do it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, now I'm definitely not gonna grab my dagger because you
But at
actually
that
told
one,
me so.
at that one, it would have been viable though, because you would have noticed your sword doesn't do that much.
Yeah, but
Rather than being
it
like,
felt,
I looked at the stat block and I see that
I mean, yeah, but it
it's
still felt wrong for me
I mean-
to go. Oh yeah, no, I use my dagger now to do that because
I mean,
I did not make my first hit yet.
I mean,
After
with
that-
with the Hydra fight, I think was the first time I could have really metagamed it if my character would have suddenly grabbed the torch, lit it, and threw it at the Hydra.
Ooh, would it work?
I know fire works against the Hydra. I know
didn't.
that it works. But my character wouldn't know. He would have no clue. So he wouldn't just magically grab a torch out of and chuck it. He wouldn't do that. Maybe when someone said, "Hey, it's a troll thing," I would still not know. But then I would be like, okay, it's something similar. If then someone tells me, yeah, that you should use fire against it. Maybe now I can throw something at it.
Yeah, I justified it with I'm a monster hunter, so
Yeah.
but I know how it looks.
In that instance, you did use your meta knowledge to benefit you in the game.
Yeah.
I can't keep you from doing that, and there's I can't keep you from doing that. But if that's why you know that because you're a DM, you've used the creature multiple times. That's fine. I can't shun you for that. But that's why I dislike someone that goes out of their way to look the stat block up.
Yeah, and
I just know a lot of things already.
And if I know things and I'm not sure if my character knows, you can just ask the DM. Does my character know this?
Yeah.
But the way I fix that, like I said, I'd probably just put a Hydra up and then just not have that happen when you put fire damage on it, and it's like,
oh no, it's a different
DM.
Hydra. Yeah, I think
the stat sheet says it does this.
I think the point out of all of this 15-minute maybe more discussion about homebrewing things is if you want to start your first game, start small. You don't have to homebrew anything if you don't know anything. You can everyone is just fine with fighting against certain things. You don't have to make an epic combat encounter. You can just if you want to make an interesting combat encounter, you don't need to homebrew the monsters themselves. You can use the environment in some ways, or just not. People are glad to punch some goblins in their faces.
Yeah,
they're fine doing that as well.
On a first game, although a lot of people say like you have to like make something interesting, don't just have them stand across from each other on a field and punch each other to death. As a first game, as a DM, that's more
fine.
than fine to do, because it's difficult to even keep track of all that stuff the first time.
Yeah.
The second time, you should probably go think of something else, and then the third time you can explore on that further, and then you continue on from there. But your very first game, don't go with a creature that has 20 legendary actions and resistances in a layer that uses 3 different things and regional effects, and having NPCs there that are speaking to players, or having creatures that are casting spells on each other. That's too difficult to all keep in your head as a first time DM.
Always use an Archmage as first encounter.
Yeah, do
Sad
that.
Archmage with like 160 hit points.
I wanted to say, just use a creature that you like and use it. Use a couple of them. With me, skeletons. With Max, gnolls. You can just have a creature that is just recognizable. That you use it a lot. You can just have that.
Give it a personality.
I use
A little bit sad.
a lot of skeletons in my first few games. Yeah. What is said? I lagged a lot there.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was said.
Skeletons. Use skeletons. That's what
I said I use. Yeah, I use a lot of I use a lot of skeletons, and you use a lot of gnolls.
Yeah.
With your encounters.
I'd say
you can
weapon variety can already really change up. Like give one guy a bow, give one guy a sword, give one a shield, so he has a little higher AC. I'd say before you're comfortable with any mechanics, don't go homebrewing any weird shit. And spells
just have
also,
the basic.
Players don't like it when you go read out a spell because you don't really know what it does. You don't like it when a player does that, so don't do it as a DM. That's sort of like my mentality on that. And
also the point with spells is they're don't use don't use player characters as monsters. Use monster stat blocks, and even then, you watch out with spells because they can
give
do a
them
lot of damage. No, you can give them levels.
I think
I-
that
I'm-
it is hard to do
I'm-
in the first time. I wouldn't do it the first time, yeah.
Yeah, because I remember the time that I had a party of a couple of 3 guys, and they used fireball on them, and they would have 2 of them would have died instantly if I did the for
I think you got
ball
fireball.
damage completely.
Oh.
So watch out with spells; they hurt. Yeah, my internet is failing.
Well, maybe that's a good.
I said a good indicator that we're going on, rambling on. So do you have any final tips for Vera making her
Just
her
do it.
first session?
I knew you were gonna say that.
TPK your party in the first few minutes that you're playing. Just to
Give
make
them
it
your
real
own
easy.
That
characters.
goes too hard.
Turn one into a T-Rex, let them eat the rest.
Yeah,
Easy.
that's a great one. Right?
No, just do it. Just start writing things down. Just start planning things. Or
Maybe.
put a deadline.
Make it simple.
Maybe someday.
Oh,
Make a deadline. That also helps.
yeah.
I'm
make
so
it simple.
busy.
Every Monday and every Friday is a good deadline, as that's when we're playing Unravel on this Twitch channel. So, if you're interested in seeing those, don't forget to Chef Hot.
Yeah. So yeah, that seems why we've run a bit longer today. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching. Yeah, I'll just. This is terrible.
Connection or...
Yeah, the terrible internet connection. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Vera, for joining us tonight. Thank you guys for joining me as well. Follow our socials. I don't think they're on the screen.
They are not.
I'm not sure. They are?
No, they're not.
Oh, they're not.
I had to
if
substitute
anyone
for a
wants to
quick
plug anything.
I had to substitute for a quick layover on this. For now, as I said, follow this channel. We're close to 1,000 followers, or 1,000. That would have been great. 100 followers.
Put a zero
So we're
in
actually
there.
trying to get there.
You play us like that?
I'm
The
sorry.
road to 1,000.
Did you buy some? What?
Yeah, we're expensive.
Yeah, follow this Twitch channel. We stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Every Monday and Friday we play the Unravel game, and every Wednesday we have the DM
The DM's podcast. He's trying to say, but it's not
podcast
working.
here. In person. Follow our mental breakdowns every week while we're talking about DMing. Yeah, check out my music on Spotify. It's the album is almost ready. It's I just have to record 3 more songs and then mix and master it, and it's done. So that's pretty cool. So, and we'll be back next Wednesday from 3 till 4 p.m. EDT with more. Take care, have a nice day, and remember, keep having fun.
Goodbye.